Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. I thought I would wrap up this week of Masters of the Universe Battleground content by talking a little bit about how to get into the game, what you should collect, and how to choose the right faction for you. And we will keep it simple. You want to collect everything, and the right faction for you is the one that includes all your favourite characters. Simple. Video over. Okay, I don't want to undermine the cleverness of this game. Battleground is really well constructed, with a rich and interesting army building system where you combine characters, equipment, focus and glory cards to create unique dynamic teams with complex synergies. It's a game designed for tournament play. You absolutely can approach the game that way, min-maxing power teams that will take you to the top of any competitive table. But it's also He-Man, and the way the game has been designed and packaged, it's almost working on the assumption people are going to want to buy absolutely everything and will simply throw together teams containing their favourite characters just for the hell of it. Characters are often bundled in 2s or 3s, usually with a selection of cards that could be useful in numerous builds for numerous factions. For example, Teela and the Sorceress are packaged together, and they also come with a force field generator and the terrain items to represent the force fields during a game. If you want force fields as an option, you have to buy that box, even if you don't play as the heroic warriors. As such, regardless of how you intend to play, you will probably end up buying it all eventually. But let's begin at the beginning. At the moment there is only one way into the game system, and that is through the Battleground starter set. It includes a hex board, loads of terrain, all the cards, tokens and dice you need, and 2 complete teams for the Masters of the Universe and the Evil Warriors. The Masters of the Universe get He-Man, Orko, Man-at-Arms, Ram-Man and Stratos. The Evil Warriors get Skeletor, Evil Lyn, Merman, Triclops and Trapjaw. And to be clear, that is more than enough characters to create a variety of different teams. There may be 5 characters per side, but it's unlikely you will use them all at once. A standard game is 100 points, and He-Man's starter team clocks in at 88 points before adding any equipment, so you are probably going to have 3 or 4 characters in your team at most. Once you start playing with different characters and item combos, you will find there is a huge amount of variety here. In fact, for anyone looking to get into this game at retail, it is probably a good idea to just purchase the starter set to begin with. It's pretty good value by today's standards, and it feels like a very complete game experience. It's not just a teaser. I got into the game on its initial launch, and so I only had access to the starter set for a little while. By the time the Wave 1 content came out, I was still exploring the options from the starter set. That said, the starter set is not without issues. It is absolutely missing characters that should have been there right from the beginning. The absence of Teela is absolutely criminal, and I don't see how Beastman didn't make the core roster. I would have happily dropped Stratos and Triclops for their inclusion. The other major issue is that new players are railroaded into purchasing 2 teams they may not be interested in. This isn't a game where you can buy a core rules book and a faction pack to start playing. You need all the bits and pieces in the core set. I would hazard that for most people interested in this game, it's not a big problem. Is there anybody interested in Masters of the Universe who doesn't want He-Man and Skeletor miniatures? But nevertheless, it is something to be aware of. Perhaps in the future, Archon Studio will break out these 10 characters into 2 faction packs, and will release an Essentials pack with the board, tokens, terrain and cards. But until that happens, the starter set is what you get. Once you have your starter and have decided to buy more content, your options are a bit more freewheeling. You can continue to expand either of the 2 teams in the starter, or you can pick from 4 additional factions: Evil Horde, She-Ra's Great Rebellion, Preternian Heroes and Snake Men. Each of the new teams has a single large faction starter, and some also have small faction packs. Naturally, each team offers a slightly different style of play. The Masters of the Universe faction is probably the most straightforward and accessible, as you would expect. They tend to have mobile teams with good defensive strategies, often involving focus and overwatch. In addition to the 5 characters available in the starter set, you can expand the Heroic Warrior faction with 5 small faction packs. And do note, I am going to rattle through these expansions quickly here. I have done in-depth reviews of every release up to and including the Great Rebellion, so if you want to know exactly what these expansions do, those videos will help. Anyway, the Heroic Warrior faction packs contain Teela and the Sorceress with force fields, Buzzoff and Manny Faces with a crater, Fisto and 2 Palace Guards, Roboto with Crystal Terrain, and Clampchamp with Junkyard Terrain. Additionally, there are 3 limited items. He-Man with Battle Cat, which is usually only available at trade shows and occasionally in online sales on the Archon Studio website, Prince Adam, a collector miniature with no new rules available only on GameFound, and finally a GameFound follower version of Roboto, which is identical to the retail version of the Roboto faction pack, except it's made in translucent plastic. This is the force that currently has the most options, and most of the fan favourites are there. We are missing King Randor and Queen Marlena. Please Archon, make that happen. And I need a Mechanic. Then I guess I just need Cyclone and I would be happy I've got all my favourites. The Evil Warriors are also a great starter force, not least because they are good to go right out of the starter set. They are an aggressive faction that employ a lot of cunning, manipulating debuffs or gaining strength through failure, becoming more dangerous as they take wounds. They can also injure each other to gain personal advantages. A bit of backstabbing goes a long way. You can expand the Evil Warriors team with 4 faction packs: Beastman and Scareglow with teleporters, Whiplash and Stinkor with a gas tank, Webstore with 2 hoverbots, and Faker with Junkyard Terrain. Additionally, there is a trade show and online exclusive, Skeletor with Panther. I would say this faction has at least 4 essential characters missing right now: Clawful, Jitsu, Spycore, and Too-Bad. I need Clawful and Jitsu just so I can recreate Fisto's epic arena fight with them from the mini-comics. The Evil Horde are, unsurprisingly, a Horde faction. They fill the battlefield with weak disposable units that they can sacrifice for strategic benefits, and they can recycle focus cards from their discard pile to get more activations during a game. To get started with the Evil Horde, you will need the faction starter, which comes with 8 characters: Hordak, Grizzlor, Catra, Shadow Weaver, 2 Horde Troopers, and 2 Horde Wraiths. At the moment, they only have 1 small faction pack containing Leech and Scorpia with a Mud Monster. Plus there is 1 trade show exclusive, Hordak on Mantisaur. Hopefully Mantenna and Modulok will be along soon. The Great Rebellion introduces She-Ra, and her team is all about teamwork and manipulating buffs. They also tend to do better when they react to their opponents and activate later in the round. At the moment, the Great Rebellion is a little thin on the ground. They have a large faction starter containing She-Ra, Bo, Froster, Caster Speller, Glimmer, and Angela. They also have 1 trade show exclusive, which is She-Ra with Swiftwind. Next we have the Snake Men, one of the 2 brand new factions. This faction deals in sneak attacks, misdirection, rapid redeployment, and interruptions. They benefit from new focus cards that can be discarded to activate special trigger abilities out of turn. I haven't had a chance to play them yet, but they appear to be the most complex faction with tricksy synergies and rules-bending abilities. For now, the Snake Men have a single faction starter containing King Hiss, Lady Slither, Squeeze, Cobra Khan, Rattler, and Fangor. They also have a trade show exclusive, which is King Hiss with Tyrantosaurus. Then we have the second new faction, the Preternian Heroes. These are the chunky characters that fight to the last. It's a team that manipulates wounds, transferring them between characters or using the damage received to gain in power. Oh, and they have dinosaurs. The large faction starter includes King Greyskull, Vina, Zodak, Eldor, Hero, Hero 2, and Bionatops. They already have 1 small faction pack. It contains Mossman and Turbodactyl. And, as is only fair, they get their own trade show exclusive, Zodak on his throne. That's it for the main factions, but there is 1 extra faction. Sort of. It's the Fighting Foemen. This is a faction of mercs that can be added to any existing faction for a bit of variety. I suppose you could also field them as a faction in their own right, but I wouldn't. The team comprises 4 trade show exclusives, and they are all vehicles: Battle Ram, Landshark, Roton, and Talonfighter. As you can see, pretty much everything released for the game so far is intended to enhance 1 or more of the factions, providing more army building options through characters and cards. However, there is 1 expansion that breaks that mould. Legends of Preternia gives you a brand new environment to fight in, a new hex board with all of the plastic terrain necessary to create Preternia. It's the perfect environment for Snake Men and Preternian Heroes to duke it out in. This set also includes a lovely Tyrannosaurus miniature, which you can introduce as an AI-controlled roaming menace in a new hunt scenario. You can play hunt solo, cooperatively or semi-cooperatively, and the aim is to take down the rampaging Tyrannosaurus. If you aren't interested in solo or co-op play, and you feel like you already have enough terrain, this is the one expansion you can probably skip. But, you know, you won't. And that pretty much sums it up. Sure, there are other products, plastic tokens, a dice tower and so on, but that's just peripherals and accessories. What I have gone through here in this video is the blood and guts of the game, the options as they currently stand for collecting and building a force. Hopefully it may have helped anyone looking at this game for the first time to decide which teams they might be interested in, and if not, please feel free to ask questions in the comments and I will do my very best to help where I can. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone, bye bye.